The crystal glasses clinked against bone china as another tense family dinner unfolded in my mother's carefully curated dining room. Everything about the space screamed old money and success, from the antique silverware to the impressionist paintings that my mother, Caroline Bennett, had acquired as her interior design firm grew into what she called a lifestyle empire. "Madison has news," my mother announced, barely glancing in my direction as she poured more wine. "She's been featured in Business Weekly. 30 under 30 list." My younger sister preened under the attention, adjusting her designer blazer. "It's not that big a deal really. Just a little recognition for the new luxury division of Mom's company." I took a small sip of wine, thinking about the email I'd received that morning, the one detailing exactly how successful my mother's company really was. Bennett Lifestyle Group was hemorrhaging money, and their desperate search for emergency investment had led them straight to my firm. Not that they knew that yet. "Don't be modest," Mom chided Madison. "You've accomplished so much at 28. Vice President of Development, featured in magazines." She turned to me, her smile cooling several degrees. "Unlike some people who still can't seem to find direction." I thought about my office in the gleaming tower downtown, the one with my name on the door. Not my family name, Bennett, but the one I'd chosen when I built my investment firm, Victoria Morgan, CEO of Morgan Capital Partners. "I'm doing fine, Mom," I said quietly. "Fine." She laughed, the sound sharp as cut glass. "Olivia, you're 32 years old, working at some obscure investment firm nobody's heard of. That's not fine, that's settling." If she only knew that the obscure firm she dismissed was now one of the most powerful private investment companies in the city. The same firm her financial team was desperately trying to secure a meeting with. "At least she has a job," Madison offered with fake sympathy. "Remember when she wanted to start her own company? Thank goodness you talked her out of that disaster." I hadn't been talked out of anything. I'd simply stopped telling them about my ambitions, tired of their constant criticism. While they thought I was just another anonymous financial analyst, I'd been building Morgan Capital Partners into a powerhouse. "I suppose," Mom sighed. "Though Olivia, darling, there are still openings at Bennett Lifestyle. Entry level of course, but it would be a start. Madison could mentor you." Madison nodded eagerly. "I could teach you everything I know about business." I suppressed a smile, thinking about the detailed report on my desk showing exactly how much Madison and my mother didn't know about business. Their company's financials were a mess of overextension and mismanagement, hidden behind glossy magazine features and society appearances. "I'm happy where I am," I replied. "Happy?" Mom set down her fork. "Olivia, you'll never amount to anything if you keep settling for mediocrity. The Bennett name means something in this city. Your sister understands that she's building a legacy. You're just existing." I thought about the meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning, the one where Bennett Lifestyle Group's executives would come begging Morgan Capital Partners for a lifeline. The one where they'd discover exactly who held their fate in her hands. "Maybe you're right," I said softly. "Of course I'm right." Mom gestured around the elegant dining room. "Look at everything I've built. Look at what Madison is achieving. This is success, Olivia. This is what you could have if you just applied yourself." I glanced at the Monet on the wall, bought with loans my mother could barely afford. At Madison's designer outfit charged to a company card that was nearly maxed out. At all the trappings of success that were really just an elaborate facade. "The thing about success," I said carefully, "is that it needs to be built on a solid foundation." Madison rolled her eyes. "Please, what would you know about building anything? Your biggest achievement was getting that tiny promotion last year." That tiny promotion had actually been me acquiring 3 rival investment firms, but they didn't need to know that. "Not yet." "Madison has a point," Mom added. "You've never taken risks, never pushed yourself. Playing it safe might feel comfortable, but it won't get you anywhere in life." My phone buzzed quietly, another urgent email about Bennett Lifestyle Group's deteriorating financial situation. They needed an investor desperately and time was running out. "Tell me more about Business Weekly," I said, changing the subject. "That must be exciting." Madison launched into a detailed description of her photo shoot, while Mom beamed proudly. Neither of them noticed me checking the message. "Urgent. Bennett Lifestyle Group meeting confirmed for 9 a.m. Their financials are worse than expected. They're seeking $50 million emergency investment. How do you want to proceed? I typed a quick response. Set up the main conference room. I'll handle this one personally. Are you even listening? Madison's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. This is important. Sorry, I smiled apologetically. Work emergency. Emergency. Mom scoffed. What kind of emergencies could you possibly handle at your level? You'd be surprised, I murmured. Well, speaking of work, Mom straightened in her chair, her voice taking on a forced casualness. Bennett Lifestyle has some exciting opportunities coming up. Very exclusive investment opportunities. We're meeting with a major firm tomorrow, Morgan Capital Partners. They're quite selective about their clients. Oh. I took another sip of wine. Tell me more. Not that you'd understand the complexities, Madison interjected, but they're one of the most prestigious investment firms in the city. Very mysterious. Nobody even knows who runs it. I thought about my corner office at Morgan Capital Partners with its view of the city skyline. About the nameplate on my desk that would shock them both tomorrow morning. Sounds impressive, I said. It is, Mom nodded. They only deal with serious businesses, real success stories. Madison and I have a meeting with their CEO tomorrow. Though honestly it's just a formality. They'd be foolish not to invest in Bennett Lifestyle. I checked my watch. 14 hours until that meeting. 14 hours until they discovered that the daughter they'd dismissed for years was the only person who could save their company. Well, I stood up gathering my things. I should go. Early meeting tomorrow. Of course. Mom waved dismissively. Some minor work thing, I'm sure. Meanwhile, Madison and I have real business to attend to. As I walked to my car, the modest sedan I drove to family functions rather than my usual Mercedes, I heard Madison's voice drift through the open window. Poor Olivia. She'll never understand what real success looks like. I smiled, starting the engine. Tomorrow they'd learn exactly what real success looked like. And who really understood business in this family. The next morning I arrived at Morgan Capital Partners 2 hours early, watching dawn break over the city from my top-floor office. Today I wore my real clothes, a tailored Chanel suit and Louboutin heels, not the modest outfits I wore to family dinners. Your mother and sister have arrived, my assistant David announced through the intercom. They're early. Of course they are. I smiled, thinking of how many family events they'd criticized my punctuality. How do they look? Nervous, though trying hard not to show it. Your sister's already told 3 people about her Business Weekly feature. I checked the stack of documents on my desk. Detailed reports showing exactly how close Bennett Lifestyle Group was to collapse. Years of mismanagement hidden behind magazine covers and society photos. Have them wait 15 minutes, I instructed. Then bring them to the main conference room. I watched through my office's one-way glass as David led them down the hallway. My mother wore her power suit, the one she always wore to intimidate people. Madison clutched her designer portfolio like a shield. The CEO will be with you shortly, I heard David say as they entered the conference room. I still can't believe we couldn't find any information about them, Madison whispered loudly. Not even a photo. Doesn't matter, Mom replied with her usual arrogance. Once they see our presentation, they'll be begging to invest. I waited 5 more minutes, reviewing their loan application one last time. They needed $50 million to stay afloat, money they'd never be able to repay given their current business model. Finally, I stood up, gathering my materials. Time to show them what real success looked like. The room fell silent as I entered. Madison's portfolio slipped from her fingers, scattering papers across the floor. My mother's face went from confident to shocked to pale in the span of seconds. Olivia, she whispered. Actually, I set my folders down at the head of the table. In this building I'm Victoria Morgan, CEO of Morgan Capital Partners. I smiled pleasantly. But you can still call me Olivia. This is impossible, Madison stuttered. You work at some tiny investment firm. No, I let you believe I worked at a tiny firm. In reality, I built one of the largest private investment companies in the city. I opened their file. Now, shall we discuss why Bennett Lifestyle Group needs an emergency $50 million investment? My mother found her voice. This is some kind of joke. Some attempt to embarrass us. Like you embarrassed me at dinner last night? I pulled up their financials on the screen. Let's talk about your company's reality, Mom. 20 million in hidden debt. Credit lines maxed out. Payroll barely covered each month. Madison's face crumpled. How do you know all this? Because I'm very good at what I do. Something you both might have noticed if you weren't so busy dismissing me. I turned to the next page. Your last 3 development projects are failing. That luxury division you're so proud of? It's losing money every month. We just need time, Mom protested. And capital. You need $50 million, I corrected. Money you're hoping Morgan Capital Partners will provide. Money that I control. The silence that followed was deafening. Olivia, my mother's voice turned pleading, we're family. Family. I laughed softly. Last night you said I'd never amount to anything. That I couldn't understand real business. I gestured around the conference room. How's this for amounting to something? You tricked us, Madison accused. No, you tricked yourselves. You were so convinced of my failure that you never bothered to look closer. I pulled out another document. Did you know I could have bought out Bennett Lifestyle Group 3 times over the past year? But I waited, curious to see how long you could maintain the facade. My mother's hands trembled. Please. The company is my life's work. Like my career was just settling for mediocrity? I pushed their loan application across the table. Morgan Capital Partners is declining to invest in Bennett Lifestyle Group. We find your business model unsustainable and your management questionable. You can't do this. Madison's voice rose hysterically. We'll be ruined. Actually, I have another proposal. I slid a second document forward. Morgan Capital Partners will purchase Bennett Lifestyle Group. You'll both step down from executive positions, but you'll be offered consulting roles. Very minor ones. My mother stared at the paper, her carefully maintained composure cracking. You want us to work for you? Ironic, isn't it? Last night you offered me an entry-level position. Today I'm offering you the same courtesy. Madison burst into tears. This is revenge. No, I corrected calmly. This is business. Something you both claimed I didn't understand. I stood up. You have 24 hours to accept the offer. After that I'll withdraw it and let Bennett Lifestyle Group face bankruptcy. You'd do that to your own mother? Mom whispered. You did worse to your own daughter. Years of dismissal, criticism, mockery. I gathered my things. The difference is I earned my position. I built something real while you were building a house of cards. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Madison, congratulations on the Business Weekly feature. Though you might want to call them, being vice president of a bankrupt company probably isn't 30 under 30 material. Within hours my phone was flooded with messages from family members. Extended family, how could you do this to your mother? Aunts and uncles, this is about your wounded pride. Madison, you've destroyed everything. I ignored them all and instead opened my desk drawer, pulling out an old family photo. In it, my mother stood proudly beside a teenage Madison at her first business competition, while I stood in the background, overlooked as usual. I placed the photo beside my CEO nameplate and the latest Financial Times featuring Morgan Capital Partners as Investment Firm of the Year. Sometimes success isn't about proving others wrong. Sometimes it's about proving yourself right. And sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't saying I told you so. It's saying, let me review your loan application. 3 days later my mother and sister signed the acquisition papers. Bennett Lifestyle Group became a subsidiary of Morgan Capital Partners, and I became their boss. Welcome to the company, I said as they turned to leave. Oh, and Mom? About never amounting to anything. I gestured to my CO office, my empire, my success. I think I've amounted to quite a lot. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's becoming so successful that they have to beg you for help. And then deciding whether or not to give it.